Scotch looks harmless, pour, ice, sip, done, but the wrong bottle quietly drains value from your shelf, and you only realise after you've paid. Today you're getting 5 single malt Scotch bottles that look impressive but under-deliver, and 5 that actually earn their place on your shelf. Subscribe and let's start. No drama, just better whiskey choices. Number 5, Dalwhinnie 15-year-old. Dalwhinnie 15 is the bottle people grab when they want something safe that still sounds impressive, reliable, classy, low risk, 15 years on the label, Highlands on the vibe. It feels like an automatic win, a smart shelf pick, but at around £50 to £60 it quietly overcharges for a profile that's gentle, polite and forgettable. No depth, no real reason to reach for it again. A major retailer lists caramel colouring, smoothing edges without adding real 15-year depth. The experience starts friendly, but that's the issue. Honey, vanilla, light pear, a touch of floral lift, all of it stays tame and surface level. Nothing pushes back. The finish fades fast, polite, forgettable, gone before it leaves an impression. At this price, safe becomes forgettable. Pass and put your money into something with presence. Number 4, Glenlivet Founders Reserve. Founders Reserve launched in 2015 as a replacement for the classic 12-year expression in many places, and the backlash was immediate because loyal drinkers could taste the cost-saving shift. The age statement disappeared. The price didn't drop. What arrived was a no-age statement whiskey, structured to maximise younger stock while keeping the label just familiar enough to pass. It's bottled at the legal minimum of 40% ABV. Built for consistency over character, and that's usually where chill filtration and colouring sit quietly in the background. In the glass, you get light pear and vanilla, followed by a younger, sharper edge that doesn't quite have the depth to carry the sweetness. That's why it feels like a compromise. The story says, founder and tradition. The liquid feels simplified. It's not that Glenlivet can't make good whiskey. It's that this particular bottle feels like a market move, not a drinker's favourite. At around £30 to £40 in the UK, it still struggles to justify its price, pass for bottles with real presence. Number 3, the Dalmore 12. Dalmore sells to your eyes before it sells to your palate. The deep mahogany colour, the flashy silver stag on the bottle. It signals luxury before you even twist the cap, and then you check the fine print, and the illusion starts to crack. Dalmore openly uses E150, a caramel colouring, to achieve that signature hue, so the richness you see isn't purely cask time. It's cosmetic. Underneath, it's bottled at 40% ABV and chill filtered, which can reduce texture and leave the whiskey feeling thinner than the price suggests. At around £65 to £80 in the UK, that's where the premium really shows. The taste is fine. Orange peel, chocolate notes, a touch of spice, but it doesn't build, it doesn't linger, and the finish doesn't quite justify the price. It's packaging tax in liquid form. You're paying for the visuals, the bottle presence, the gift appeal, the stag status, not the pour itself. The visuals impress, the liquid doesn't quite keep up. For this money, you can find more depth and honesty in the glass. Number 2, the Macallan 12 double cask. This is one of the clearest examples of paying for aura rather than what's actually in the glass. The bottle looks premium, the name carries status, the price sits around £70 to £85, sometimes higher, as if superiority is built in. In the glass it leans into a pleasant sherry profile, dried fruits, gentle spice, caramel sweetness, and that's the issue. Pleasant isn't rare, and it's far from worth this kind of premium. At an industry level, the production cost of a mainstream 12-year Speyside malt is often far below its retail price once brand heat and global demand are added in. Macallan has become a symbol, and symbols come with what many call the Macallan tax, a bit like paying Rolex pricing for a watch when what you're buying is the logo. If you love this profile, you can find similar sherry warmth and fruit for less, or spend the same money on a bottle with higher strength, thicker texture, and a more distinctive edge. Status sells. The substance doesn't always justify the price. Look elsewhere. for value. Number 1, Oban 14-year-old. Oban 14 is coastal romance in a bottle. It sounds like something you discover on a rainy road trip, not under harsh supermarket lighting. The story sells, but you often end up paying more for the narrative than the performance in the glass. In the glass, you get light smoke, salty air, orange peel and honey. They're balanced, easy, charming. But at around £80 to £90 across UK retailers, that subtlety can feel thin for the money. The finish stays polite rather than powerful, and at this price, that restraint can disappoint. You pour it for friends, everyone nods, and no one talks about it the next day. The story captivates, the sip fades. For this money, you can find bottles that leave a stronger impression. After that list, you're probably thinking, so what's actually worth buying? The shift is simple. The best value bottles don't rely on velvet boxes or romance. They earn their place through flavour, texture and identity in the glass. Let's get to the 5 that justify their price. Number 5, Glenfiddich 12. This is the single malt that introduced millions of drinkers to what Scotch can taste like when it's made to be enjoyed, not worshipped. William Grant founded the distillery in 1887. And more than a century later, family ownership still shapes the decisions, which is why this expression stays consistent instead of chasing trends. It usually sits around £38 to £45 across UK retailers, and for that money, it gives you a clean Speyside profile you can actually learn from. The nose opens with crisp green apple, fresh pear, and a touch of honey. The palate balances malt sweetness with gentle oak and soft vanilla, and it stays friendly without turning watery. If you want a dependable house single malt that won't stretch your budget, Glenfiddich 12 is a safe bet that still tastes like real whiskey. Value starts here, consistent, approachable, built to stay. Number 4, Loch Lomond 12. This is what happens when a distillery decides to outsmart the big brands instead of outspending them. Loch Lomond runs one of the more versatile still setups in Scotland, including unique straight neck designs that allow them to produce a range of spirit styles under one roof. That flexibility shows up as value. You're not paying for oversized marketing budgets. You're paying for deliberate liquid choices. It usually sits around £40 to £50 in the UK. It's bottled at 46% ABV, non-chill filtered and typically natural in colour, a combination that signals they're building for texture. In the glass you get orchard fruit, honeyed malt and a gentle wisp of smoke, a reminder that peat exists without trying to dominate. This bottle wins because it respects the fundamentals. It delivers body and character at a price where some bigger brands start smoothing things out. Authentic, textural and quietly confident. Value built on craft rather than noise. Number 3, Bunnahabhain 12. If you want to taste whiskey made without shortcuts, start here. It's bottled at 46.3% ABV, skips chill filtration, and contains no caramel colouring. That means the natural oils and texture stay in the whiskey, giving you a creamy, almost waxy mouthfeel that clings to your palate instead of sliding off. The colour in your glass comes from real cask maturation, not a cosmetic addition. It typically sits around £50 to £60 in the UK, and it earns it by tasting complete. You get dried fruit, roasted nuts, a rich malty core, and a coastal saltiness that hints at Islay, without forcing you into a peat punch. If you've been paying premium prices for smooth, pour Bunnahabhain 12 and you'll understand what smooth feels like when it still has weight. And number 2, Lagavulin 16. This is the iconic Islay bottle that turns casual sippers into true believers. It usually sits around £75 to £95 in the UK, and unlike many bottles at this price level, this one delivers a full experience. Lagavulin was founded in 1816, and the whiskey drinks like it carries that history. The first sip lands with deep smoke, then the layers open, powerful peat, dried seaweed, charred oak, and a thread of dried fruit sweetness that keeps the smoke from turning bitter. This is the bottle that helps you understand why people fall hard for Islay. And yes, pop culture amplified it. If you've ever heard Ron Swanson's love for Lagavulin, this is why. It tastes iconic because it has earned that status in the glass. Number 1, Arran 10-year-old. The Isle of Arran distillery opened in 1995, and the old guard initially dismissed it as too new, too ambitious, too far from the traditional powerhouses. Arran built its reputation anyway by refusing shortcuts from day one. It usually sits around the mid-40s in the UK, and it shows up with these specifications serious drinkers look for: 46% ABV, natural colour and non-chill filtration. That's the full holy trinity on one label, a clear signal that this bottle is built for flavour rather than mass market smoothing. And when you taste it, it follows through. Bright lemon zest, creamy vanilla, malt biscuit, and a clean structure that feels both lively and mature. A modern distillery proving that integrity, texture, and value can sit comfortably in the same glass. And if you're standing in front of the shelf wondering whether you need to empty your wallet for a great single malt, Arran 10 is your reminder that you don't. Real Scotch quality hides in the specs, not the status, so read the label carefully and tell me, what's your go-to bottle when you want real value?